on of the other property, or what do we do there?
I'm highly concerned with a meter on somebody else's property. If we have a leak and you have to dig it up, suddenly it is an issue. Well, as long as it's just a meter that's sitting there, nobody has a problem with it.
Yeah.
The second you gotta dig it up.
But
As long as, I guess, as it came with a right-of-way agreement with an
Yeah.
identification in case something, I mean, those are pretty standard.
Well, do you see that blue line?
Uh-huh,
That meter hooks into a 4-inch line that feeds all 3 lots.
okay,
So it's a bigger issue than you think.
yeah, sure. But in terms of identifying the neighbor in case they ever had to come onto that line.
Line, so that line where it comes out, this meter, does that just go to one lot, or has it got 3 connections going
It
on?
has one connection hooked into a 4-inch line that feeds 3 lots with a black backflow device on that meter, which should
Wow.
have been opened and accessible to have those. I mean, backflows are a maintenance item.
So it's already
So,
combined
At
for
some
more
point, it
than
will
one.
have to be maintenance, and it will have to be dug up, and so I think it becomes an issue.
So it's already servicing 3,
It
up
is,
to 3 lots.
it is.
So it's not gonna matter if it's moved over, it's still going to service 3 lots.
Well, if
Correct.
that brings up another issue, we
We don't allow that
don't allow that.
Yeah.
That was what it was a private water company.
That was all done before the town.
Oh,
So if that was, as they tried to develop those connections under the current rules, that wouldn't be, the 4-inch line wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
What happened in this particular instance is the well sits back on that parcel and it went dry.
okay,
And so the
gotcha.
well fed 3 lots. And so they hooked into one line into their existing line
Okay.
to feed those 3
What,
lots.
let me ask the question. If that had to be changed to go to 3 lots, regardless of who's on what property line it's on, but what would be the procedure, or what would that entail, putting that, one, I'm sure digging down to the line and the connection. Okay, then what is it gonna do?
You'd cap that one off and move it out onto the properties that it's.
Move the 4-inch line, cap those, and put 3 different.
If you dig it up, you would probably abandon that hookup and put a separate meter at each lot.
So you're gonna have 3 different hookups off that main line from the road.
Yes.
So in a perfect world, you'd have 3 meters for 3 lots,
Correct.
and all going to the house, and the 4-inch line would probably go away, or they might use.
So that would be for probably 1, that could be used for 1.
The problem is there's a huge safety concern with that 4-inch line. The water sits in there. If for any reason that does get back into our line, that can introduce bacteria down our line. I mean, that's huge.
So do you have a recommendation, Eric?
Safety, well, we need to deal with that, I believe.
So this,
I don't think granting a variance or even getting something in writing allows you to go in and maintenance. I don't think that solves the
that's not
issue.
the answer, yeah, that's not the.
What do you think is?
I
Solution.
think at this point that meter needs to be moved onto his property. If he's willing to sell that 5 feet, I think he needs to move that meter onto his property.
Okay, so is there a meter already for that back 9 acres?
There's not.
Okay, so what if can he use this meter as his?
That 9
That's
acres,
his water.
that 9 acres is not a lot. Okay?
It's not what?
It's not a lot, it's a field.
It's a field.
Okay?
But he's gonna build on it, right?
I don't know.
So
We'll
he
see.
has to be able to pull this off
We'll
and
see.
get that. And then the next
That's
step
what I
is
thought,
gonna
so
be
why
more
couldn't we just say that that's
conjunction.
his water meter for that back lot? If he wanted it, he buys it, and then the guy.
We have to
next
presume he's
to
gonna
it-
build on it.
Yeah.
Well,
And
then
then
the
the
other 2 people would have to put it in.
Yeah,
And
exactly. 'Cause if they want to
either-
look into the town's water, they gotta do it. anyway.
either the town's getting to eat that cost, or the landowner's gonna eat that cost, or maybe a little bit from both.
No, the town's not gonna eat that
No.
cost.
Yeah, landowners typically will supply that cost upon developers, as the case might be. But I still think that, I mean, a right-of-way is still gonna grant the same rights to him for his access to be, for his meter to be granted.
It may, but it doesn't fix the problem. We have a safety issue
The
there.
4-inch line's the problem.
So, I wanna make sure we're clear, so we're kind of holding this 4-inch line replacement thing out as an issue for granting the 30 feet?
That's, in my book, I say that's the issue.
And in my book, I would say that may not be the only issue. I would
That's
like
not
to-
the only
Right.
issue, but that's
I
the
just-
meter with that meter.
Now,
Okay.
that'd be,
So, all right, so let me make sure.
Because it's on his property.
it's
So
and
if we
it's
move
changing.
that meter over here, a foot over the line, then the problem goes away?
there's still, two other people that need hookups there
Right.
that, to replace the other two that was on the three lines.
Have they bought those hookups? Do they have water hookups?
I think them for the
I don't imagine they do.
So why do we need to worry about a hookup for them then?
McEwen's have that hookup, it's on his property right now.
And they're
Okay,
using
He's
it,
paying the water bill.
and they're using it?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one line that's,
If you're gonna upgrade anything there, it needs to be brought into compliance.
yeah.
And if we're gonna move a property line, I think we need to bring it up to
that's
compliance.
probably has to be
It's
in
not our rules,
conjunction
it's the
with it.
division of drinking
So,
water.
so would it work like you said, to move the water hookup over onto his property and then just leave it? Have one hookup?
Well, for his house, I think your 4-inch line still needs to be fixed. It's like if you go in and upgrade your house, you put an addition on, you have to bring your house up to compliance of the new rules. And I don't think it's any
Where's the
different here.
4-inch line, Eric?
Right inside the property line.
The blue line is 4-inch.
Yep, and it runs up into West Westfield.
And you're saying you need to bring that up to what?
They need to have their own
Compliance.
hookup.
So,
That's the issue of a backfeed. That's a possible backfeed situation there that, I mean, that
How
would
much
cause
is
us
it
to
right
have-
now?
the owners, my concern is the owners, so they're not blindsided, need to have at least a rough idea of what they're looking at cost-wise to fix that problem, so they've got it.
How much is it to get a water hookup in town right now?
10,000?
So what if,
New fact fee's 10,000.
That's right, 10,000, not changing to 40.
it's already been done.
So you're 10% less than a well, right?
So what if
He's buying one tonight.
the owner that's giving up the land, you know, has the new owner that wants to purchase the land, put in a new one for his lot, and he takes over the one that's existing on the land parcel that's his?
But that one's gotta be brought up, because it's a, it's.
He would still have the hookup. The
Well, I'm just
hookup,
saying,
I'm
but
not
that
saying.
takes care of the whole property issue,
It does,
and then we're null and void now, don't worry about it.
yeah.
And
Because
then-
you'd basically just, that would be a future hookup
And
for
then
that
the
lot. in
new,
the back.
exactly, and then the new owner, or the owner that gets the new hookup, technically the other owner have to pay the $10,000 for him to get the new hookup for his lot and be done.
That's one of the scenarios, but that's why I don't feel comfortable tonight approving it until we get some of that understanding understood.
Now, another issue, maybe it's a question for you,
Uh-huh.
Nick. When was that subdivision created?
Well, to answer your question, this one was created, the plat that was recorded that's giving rise to the earmarkings of fraud
Yes.
was done in 1998. April
98, okay.
Yeah. And then before that was just part of, you know, kind of a more
Okay,
general, big, huge plat.
okay, is this parcel we're looking at, is that the entire Ron Godden subdivision?
This one, and this one right here.
Okay, so see, we've come across this before where we change a subdivision
Uh-huh.
and not all the signatures are included on the plat when we change the subdivision. And we talked about changing that, so all these owners would have to sign the Mylar.
Right, we're aware of that. We'll get in
Okay.
touch with all of them.
All right.
Do you know if your client was thinking about hooking into the city water or town water?
You know, right now, the contemplation wasn't to develop, it was just to get access
Mhm.
in case of future development. I mean, sets, you know, getting your duckies in a row essentially. But there
I'm
was
just
no,
saying,
there
if
was
he
no
was-
imminent
So to
development.
If he
make it
was
a lot of
planning-
record then,
Sure.
to make it a lot.
If he was planning on building back there,
Uh-huh.
he would probably want to hook into the town water anyways. And you know the fee
Well,
right now.
60,000 for a well, would probably be a good idea.
Well, I'm just saying, so, I mean, technically, if he's gonna hook into it anyways, you know, do the one for the neighbor, take over that one, and
You still have one neighbor
You
though.
have one more left.
The other one.
Who is that, Eric?
West,
Is that Davis?
West,
Oh, Wes.
and Davis down at the other end.
Davis has a water meter in front of his house.
Yes, he hooks into this 4-inch line also.
Oh. Really?
thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because they had, that well was shared by those lots. And I don't know when they did it, I think they probably did it when the subdivision was created for water for all those lots.
Yeah, there was some continuity between these lots,
Yeah.
looking back.
And so another question I have is, I don't know what, I'll have to research it, but I don't know what the frontage is or was in 1998 for that lot that's created that we're taking away the 30 feet from.
Mhm.
So if that turns out that they needed 230 feet or whatever they needed for that lot, and that's why they did that, then we wouldn't be creating an illegal lot by
No,
jumping
no.
5 feet out.
Yeah, we'll look into that, but I'm fairly confident that's not the case.
So the only thing, it was created with the same amount of frontage we're putting it back to. So we're not taking away frontage from when it was originally
No,
created.
you're talking acreage, I'm talking frontage.
No, I mean frontage, because
The line's moving back and forth, so when the plot was originally recorded, that was 100 feet and the lot was
200.
200 feet.
This lot,
What, is it 200, just so I get
it's
the
200,
Is it
it's now
200?
230.
So that the 4 days after
So
the
it'll be
sell,
200
it became 230 and 70. And we're putting it back to the way it was originally. So I haven't researched the code, but it's not getting smaller than it was on the day that it was originally created.
Well, and there's another factor too, that we need to, until 2007, it required 200 foot for frontage. So that was why that was never a lot, because there wasn't ever enough until 2007 when we adopted 100 feet.
And these things we're discussing at the moment were kind of came up after the planning had looked at.
I'm sure they looked at the frontage and all that, but the water meter, they didn't know about.
And that's part of the bigger of the issue as far as.
So I say we
health and
pass
safety.
it back to planning, or have them reconsider the water meter issue.
Well, I think
So
it's,
couldn't this
right
guy
now,
just pull a new meter off of there and he's not tapped into that line, that 4-inch line at all, right?
he is
Smith.
not. But the
So-
problem is the property he's buying has the meter on it.
So granted easement and access rights to dig it to here to hell and let them have at it whenever they want. And
Under our new things, you can't have an access on somebody else's
Okay, what if he
property.
just sells the water hookup to the new owner?
You can do that. But I think it now, it actually is in the applicant's hand to figure out what they're gonna do with that water. He knows what we're asking.
And, yeah, I mean, I would think that you might be able to come in and solve this particular issue, both the line that's connecting all three together and the separate,
Yeah, I mean,
and then come back to us and then we might feel more
that's a
comfortable.
substantial amount of work. And I'm not saying we wouldn't do that, but certainly nothing I could speak to at this time. We need to see schematics
You know,
and
just
all
talk
sorts
to your
of
client.
engineer reports and all sorts of stuff,
Yep.
which is, gonna be substantial cost. We'll have to weigh that out versus,
He will.
litigation and stuff.
And he still has the other options that we
Yep.
gave him on that property to make it comply. So there is other ways that they can do that. This is certainly a way that would fit within the code, had that water thing not been there. It's just, if we're gonna change something, we should bring it up to code.
Want to just continue then? You want to make it, pass it to planning and, is there anything more that planning can chew on, or should we just continue it? And
I think your issues are right there. We've laid them all out. There's really nothing, unless you would rather work through planning, I think that he will come back with a solution or,
My preference would be to leave it here, since we seem to have the water guy here, instead of pushing it back to planning, unless there's somebody there that is really.
So you might be able to get these problems worked out by the time.
I certainly want to address it. Yeah, I certainly want to look into it.
I'll give you a
Yeah.
month to get things
Yeah, we
worked
can
out.
join the next
for you.
agenda,
Right.
and then we'll continue it, if that's the council's recommendation to do, and then
Yeah.
is there something, John, that you see at planning that they need to look at?
There's just a lot of smart guys there.
Gals.
There is. It's a loaded board.
They might come up with some great ideas on how to do a good job, do it right.
Well, you're really close on this right now. Your Mylar gives you the legal descriptions of property, the boundary lines. So you draw in the drawings of your water system on the new line out front. That if everybody will approve it, 3, or is there 4?
Well, if they run one in here, it'll be four. There's 3 on it right now.
Or can approve it with these conditions being done.
But then there could be a little bit of a problem with who comes up with the $10,000.
Right.
But at least you address all 4 parties at once on that Mylar.
Yes.
That might be something to look at.
Are there any other concerns you guys see, or so we don't come back and you want a new one? Should we be so lucky to work
I
this
think
one out?
you've increased the lot size, so the frontage was my only question on that.
Okay,
And so if it was legally created then, and that's correct, then
Yeah, it was just a plat that was recorded 72 hours later, which is the first time I've seen that.
Yeah, and Jerry really did want the town to jump in on that, and we really don't have a stance
Yeah,
on that, so
yeah.
we tried to work through, we gave him some options. It's, it's up to him. We like to see it develop because it holds the atmosphere that we're having here in the town a lot back there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely the route. they use.
How far,
Yeah, route.
how far back does that go from the road back to the, first part of that main park?
Are you
That
referring
field?
to this
Yes.
part?
Yeah.
I believe it's 285 feet.
Almost 300 feet, okay.
All right.
Okay. Anything else from the council?
Would we turn down then a right-of-way option?
I can't speak for you guys, I would vote against that.
I'm asking everybody that.
Okay,
The easiest thing, I think, for Nick to do would go back and say, okay, we got to grant a right, easement to access the water. And I'm sure both parties would agree to that quite readily.
and that was his
That'd be easy.
suggestion, but with Eric talking about the 4 lines and having that backflow thing, that's a whole nother issue that I won't
So
solve.
that's Eric's point of view.
Because they're gonna have to be coming up with $10,000 on any new
So,
Well, it's
connections.
not a point, I would say if we're gonna, just like you said, the house and anything else, if we're gonna mess with that system, we need to bring it up to code.
The original
Yep.
water.
And that's how I look at it.
Okay.
And-
so the right, the easement would not fly with this group.
Not to solve the issue per se.
Okay, Eric's a no. So I don't know that you get that easement.
What is normal?
Sounds like
No, I see the issue. I mean, this is
1 inch or
done
3/4 inch
very often,
line coming
when
off
we do
the
these monthly
main line for a house.
utility easements,
for domestic water.
easements, right-of-way access agreements over someone's property.
Yeah.
In Old Town and Park City, you guys can imagine, it's a cluster mess of things like that, which is where I do most of my stuff. But I think the point that I'm to understand is, and this is also common, is that when a permit is pulled, you gotta fix, that's usually when I get called, because we gotta fix boundary encroachments and things. So I just wanna make sure that's my understanding of what's being said.
So that, if I'm hearing correctly, then this 4-inch line is gonna be used for just one line, but it also has to be changed to a 3/4 inch line as a normal hookup line for a house, unless they pay to have a 1 inch. And then the other 2 lots would have to come up with another 10,000 each, plus the labor to run another line over, if my hearing correctly.
Well, I don't think that we regulate what size of line they run on the inside of their property.
No,
We
but
have a
normally
hookup.
it's a 3/4 inch line unless they
We have a
go to
hookup.
a bigger one.
Yeah, at our meter setter is a 3/4, but after that, it's up to the property owners what size line they want to run in their
Are
property.
all meters right here?
Right inside the property line, yeah.
So they could
3
run a
meters?
What's that?
There's 3 meters right
There
here?
is only 1 meter there.
Okay, and it services his,
Services 3 lots.
1 meter services 3 lots.
But the others aren't using it right now, right?
I can't say.
Oh, okay.
I know that line is active, that 4-inch line, so
Oh, okay.
I believe it is being used.
So you could run a 3/4 inch meter and come after that to the house, you could run a 1 inch line to the house, correct?
Eric, we have a 4-inch line, but we have 3 individual meters. In other words, we're able to tell what this resident uses, and this resident uses, and the third resident.
Well, for different areas on the property, they have a different meter. For that 4-inch line, it's all hooked into that 1 meter.
there's-
So West Sweat could be pulling water off of, I forget
He
whose
has,
house that was.
he did purchase another meter up on the top end of his property. And so he does have a meter up at his
So a
property.
fourth guy that wouldn't be on the plat, that I'm not aware of, he's taken care
Where that line ends, right there,
Yeah.
west,
of.
west.
This is west, and then I guess whoever's next to west.
Next to that is Kohler, so yeah, they are taken
Okay.
care of, they have their own meter.
So let me ask you this question, and I recognize there's a lot of unknowns around this, but with this new water law changes that are coming into effect, is that gonna mandate that every property has its own meter anyway?
Well, our rules already regulate that, so.
So these are already in violation.
Right. And that was done when it was a private water company. That's why we're saying at this point is the time, as we upgrade, to fix that problem. I mean, we don't want to be on the news for having a bad water sample. We've seen how that goes. So any chance we get it to correct the safety,
We don't have lead pipes, do we?
I'm not going to answer that.
Can I ask a question of the council? If Jerry was willing to say, I'm not gonna touch that 4-inch line, and I'm gonna pull in a new line from the road to access there, not touch anything else, he's not tapped into it right now. He's gonna grant an easement that I get you say you don't like, but if he were to say that and never touch that 4-inch line, is the council still gonna want him to deal with cleaning up this non-conforming thing that he's never benefited from over the life of the ownership of that property?
I would say for myself, I'd like to look at all of it before I made a decision on that.
Okay.
I mean, there's some
I
unknowns.
get there's a lot.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, he is changing it. He's buying the property the meter sits on, that's in the McEwen property.
Okay, and if we buy some of Weston's land, theoretically,
Then that meter wouldn't be there, and that's water wouldn't be an issue right now.
I'm not proposing that. Mr. Sweat about that.
Just an option. Yeah. Good luck.
Here. Okay. Yeah, I'm aware of how that might go.
So those are the only questions I could have, and I don't think anything else. I'm sure you guys batted that around in planning and looked at all those same things we're talking about, except for the water,
Yep, we do, well, we
because
do
he
know
was
about
unaware of
water.
it.
But we were
And
just
I'm
trying to
wondering-
make it easy so that everybody benefited, the best case scenario, that you could use your land how you'd like to use it.
Yeah. And like I say, it is the town plan, it fits in the general plan to have a house back there. So
So we're gonna we're gonna try to figure out a solution for it.
we would like to work with you through that.
We'll figure it out.
Yep.
This is what I did.
Right on.
Any other questions or anything while
Council?
I'm gracing your presence?
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Ryan, do you have anything to add on that?
I have some thoughts, but I'd like to look into it a little more.
Okay.
So,
So I don't know that I understand it enough.
I'd like to make a motion that we continue this to our next meeting.
we have a motion to continue. We have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Continue to move. Items continued.
So on the April 4th agenda, you want?
So just so you know, Nick, I'm part-time planner, that's why I send you to Ryan.
Oh,
I only work Fridays, so I'm in and out. so-
Ryan's been great.
Yeah, he's-
very accessible and very friendly.
Okay.
Thank you.
He works 24 hours a day, so he's easy to get on.
He is.
So Nick, is next month a good time for you, or?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously want to push this forward as quickly as we can.
Okay.
So assuming I can get access to this information and we can sit down, I'll sit down with Ryan however many times we need to, or how many times he's willing to, and we'll try to figure something out.
Okay, super.
Thank you.
Okay, we did discuss this a little bit earlier, and I don't know if we have to spend any more time on it. Follow-up discussion on US 189 Preservation Corridor Agreement. Does anyone have any recommendation for me, or just wait for that to happen? Okay.
The 189?
Yeah,
So we're holding out for that intersection to be in stone, is that correct?
that is what I would think we got to do.
Okay.
So on next month's agenda again?
Make a motion.
Motion to continue?
A motion to continue. Second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Further consideration of flag lots within the town. That's on there because last meeting,
We continue to.
continued that.
I think they want a Casey here, right?
Yeah, we just wanted to see everybody here.
Yeah, John, you know, wanted to have the whole council here to either move this forward or not. So Eric, with regards to the flag lots, that's the subdivisions,
Yes.
is there something there that says there is no flag lots available? Are we just talking about just in a subdivision, or?
Yeah, that 27 is in the creation of a subdivision, and so the flag lot would be within that subdivision. If, when they take a field and divide that, if they need to have a flag lot in there for the division of the land. That's what that code talks to. That code in that section also talks about irregular shaped lots. And so we're able to control the flag lots and their appearance of uneven and jagged.
Within a subdivision.
Within a subdivision. So basically, you probably would only, I shouldn't say probably, you could get it in a small scale subdivision, but most likely would occur in a large scale subdivision. And that's why that's written in there. And that was the way that we actually got some in the town. When we became a town, the county had already approved. And that's how that came in, because it was part of a subdivision. It was a small scale subdivision, but that's how those were approved.
Okay. And this has been continued for a few months with regards to further discussion on flag lots. So wasn't there a recommendation made?
There was, and so, do you guys have a copy of this in your packet, of all the items that came up on that flag lot?
They have copies of the recommendation.
Yes. And so all those things are in your packet that came up on that from?
Like 13 items or something?
Yes. And so that was the recommendation from planning. And so I know that we've talked about this a few times. I don't see us moving forward of changing anything. It just seems like we've hit a brick wall of either we want it or we don't. We can't improve on these mediation more than what we have here. And so I guess at this point we need to the council's all here, we need to vote whether we're gonna allow it or not.
If I understand this correctly, if we've got at least 50 feet that they can put in their own road, private road, with the slag, rototip mill, put that in. They're under their own ability to keep it up. They don't have to worry about, the town doesn't have to worry about snow removal or anything else on that road. But they've got a 50-foot frontage, they can put a road going back into the lot to service up to 3 houses as far as a flag lot, so to speak, that takes care of at least a number of lots that could be developed with a minimum of 5 acres each, and still can give them the road frontage they'll need with a secondary type road that's been approved. Is that correct?
No.
No.
The 3 lots applies to the road standard. We allow a non-paved standard to go to. A flag lot only allows just that lot.
One.
That's correct.
Okay, which more or less is kind of what we're dealing with here, in a way.
Real close.
Road
Yes.
laws.
Yeah, but this one
Well,
wouldn't
this
work.
one, they're trying to get 100
Because it's
feet.
longer than a 250-foot pole.
Yeah, it's like 300.
This is like a 285, 300-foot pole, so this one wouldn't work in it. I think it is so much easier just not to allow them than try to regulate them. You're gonna have people come and say, oh, well, I swapped 30 here and 20 here, and so now I've got 50. And it just, to me, seems like a headache to try to.
Well, if the neighbors are willing to do that, and they can get their 50 feet in order to get a road, private road going back to their place.
I just can't believe how many parcels that are up in Lake Little Sweden that are blocked behind that frontage.
Yeah, and-
They are gonna want to develop.
Well, and there's a lot of stuff in here to help. I mean, not even with this, is not gonna take care of all the flag lots that are
No,
wanted.
but it's just,
That's what I'm just
it's
saying,
one
there's
thing.
tons of them, so we're gonna have headaches regardless of whether we have flag lots or not. You're gonna have those people coming up saying, I've got 20 acres locked back there.
And
I
then we're
wanna
gonna
build.
be having people push, well, let's start pushing for quarter-acre lots, because we can't even develop this at all.
And we do have people pushing up on Little Sweden already. And so, I mean, our answer to them is you have to buy the front lot and build a road. That's the answer right now. If the flag lots aren't allowed, and that's where we're at right now.
Right.
And so they've been reluctant to do that because you gotta purchase a lot out front.
Well, now wait a minute, this isn't quite true. If you have 20 acres, we have flag lots available in a subdivision. You can subdivide that 20 acres and you can build a road into it and you can have a flag lot in
But if
that 20
it's
acres.
landlocked, they've got to have a.
This is for
property.
one lot.
That's not a flag lot. That's built, a road built to the standards.
Yeah.
So the other thing is not a flag lot. That's a regular
Well,
lot.
if I look, help me make sure I got this straight. If I look in this 27,
Mhm.
it says flag lot standards.
Yes.
And it says a lot of what this document right here says.
Right, but you have to get to that subdivision before that applies.
Yeah, so I'm talking about a 5 acre dwelling, a 5 acre lot.
6 acres.
So you're back to the flag lot.
I'm back to one lot, not, so if someone has 20 acres landlocked, they have a solution. They have a flag lot solution right here, if they have a subdivision.
Yes.
If they have, so this idea that if someone's got 20 acres landlocked, they got a solution.
For one lot.
For a subdivision,
Then they gotta go.
No,
on
that's a
road.
lot within that subdivision. That's not the entire subdivision.
to help me understand that, Eric.
So they have to get the subdivision, you have to have access to that
Yep,
subdivision.
and I get, so I
Built
have
to the-
20 acres.
Okay,
I go in there and I break it up into 5.
5
4
acre
fives.
lots. Now you got 4 5s and no access,
Yeah,
right?
yep.
Okay, so now you're talking about putting in a flag lot that's 50 feet wide.
No, I'm talking about putting in
Be
this,
a private road.
this right here.
That has to be within the subdivision. You can't access all the lots on that flag lot.
It
That
has to
pole, that pole area on that flag lot has to belong to the lot.
Oh, yeah, yeah, so
So you can't
Kinda
access,
like
but
that.
so
you can
does
only
a flag
access
lot.
one out of those 4.
so does any flag lot. The pole has to be part of the lot in any flag lot.
Not if they build the road to the standard. Now it's a town road. It's not a
Or,
law.
or if they got
Now you
100
build it
feet.
right away town.
But it's still a private road, it's not a
It,
town
it
road.
can be private, but it's a road built to the standards. We adopted that standard.
Yeah,
That is a road built to the standard. So now their frontage, they get their 100 feet of frontage along that road. Not, the poles, there's no pole.
yeah. That- I
If they
think
don't
Ends
get
up being a
about
road
that.
and it'll
If
service
they
up
don't have
to
that
3 houses
100
back
foot
in
of
the
frontage
back.
though, then it has to be a flag lot.
So
Yeah.
that 20 acres could be
Right.
done out in
If they hit
4
the 50,
lots, but they can only have 3 houses on it, up to 3.
yeah, but I'm just saying, so we're going back to John's original, say you got 5 or 6 acres back here and you have that road that they've been accessing for however many years, and they meet that 50 foot, but not 100 foot, so it's gonna have to be a flag lot. 'Cause it
On a
can't-
single lot, yeah.
Yeah,
On a
Yeah,
single
for a
lot.
single
single
lot.
lot.
But on a subdivision, not so.
Right. They have to build
They
that
have to
road
build
to
They
the
gotta put a
standard.
road and
Just
just
like
Which is what we have up there. That's what we just had.
And
That's
it's
what
gonna
they-
have at least 50
Yeah,
feet
so.
in that area.
So how many of these
Build
parcels
that.
do we have that are small, like 5, 6
We-
acres, that you can't
well,
subdivide off?
you
into
can't
a
really-
subdivision?
You can't really say because a lot of these are one parcel and how that's subdivided between the kids or whoever.
Okay, so what's the negatives of having that, other than the dirt road that's gonna be creating dust?
Then it needs
Of the flag,
Yeah,
I think everything we could think of in planning is on that list.
yeah, I just.
So
I
that
went through
mitigates
it, I
everything we
didn't
could think
see-
of as far as
And
things that may become an issue.
If
I can
that-
guarantee you there's more than 13.
Okay, so the 50 foot's
We
still
only
gonna have to meet the
identified
standard.
So if that lot that's up here on this, for example, can only be one house, they're only gonna be driving back and forth on that driveway. And
Yeah, but it
that can
still
be done
says
with
that-
anything at this point. if
Right
they've done
here,
100
though, it
feet.
still says the frontage on the public road